This is a Note to Future Me, dated May 16th, 2018. Is there life after 55 for a podcast? I restated this title from a recent article from Dave Beasing in Radio World. The actual title is there life after 55 for radio? Subtitle, Baby Boomers Love Radio. Why doesn't radio love them back? Let's dive into it a little bit. As of 2018, 90.6 million Americans are now over the age of 55. That represents 28% of the population. Now, keep in mind, 24% of the population listens to a podcast. Most are baby boomers who have been passionate about radio throughout their lives. They're adopting new audio technologies, but at a slower rate than younger people. They're not stuck in the past, but some observers might say radio is. A quote from Jacobs Media president Fred Jacobs. He says, and I tend to agree, it's like radio is caught in a demographic time warp. Since the beginning of most of our careers, and mine included, I started about that time in the mid-'80s, radio has been obsessed with targeting 25 to 54-year-old demographic. It stems from advertiser dictates. He states it as preferences that date back to the 80s. Interestingly, they haven't gravitated to an older demographic, and he just even states the older demographic is a 35 to 64-year-old. I tend to say it's even older than that they are completely ignoring. In radio, at least, they haven't shifted younger either. I agree. Jacobs believes radio has done a poor job overall of educating the ad community about the spending power of boomers and the radio's ability to reach them. That I'd have to say, there's probably a little bit of truth to that. I tend to state that there's plenty of information out there about boomers having money and willing to spend it. The internet's changed that. You can Google it up pretty quickly and know what the buying power is for boomers. The ad industry, the advertising agency industry has decided to ignore it. They are still under the fallacy that branding, getting to that 25-year-old and making sure that they try Tide immediately, that they'll be brand loyal for the rest of their life. Again, that is a fallacy. It's been proven over and over and over again that we are not brand loyal. There are a few categories that we tend to be, higher price ticket items, automotive, some alcohol as well. It's a taste factor there. But when it comes to regular stuff you're buying off the shelf, if it's 55 cents cheaper and it does the same thing, and you've got a coupon for 55 cents off, you're going to go do it. It's been proven. So it's the coolness factor. It's ad agencies in a rut, always thinking that they have to buy the 25, 54-year-old demographic. Now, going to get to my point here. An example of where, as a podcaster, think about this demographic that's being ignored by radio. In Chicago, a station playing an oldies-based blend called MeTV FM jumped from 26th to 6th in February of this year with an audience share of 3.6. Okay. What's legally classified as a low-power TV channel, it's at 87.7. It's so far on the FM dial, you literally can't pick it up in most car radios, but they are reaching over 765,000 weekly listeners. So my point being, if you're in that demographic and you're starting a podcast and you're looking at creating a podcast that talks to that demographic, and I mean focusing on the demo, you're living it, you're 55, you're 50, and you're starting a podcast, and you want to talk about home improvement. You want to talk about gardening. You want to talk about family. You want to talk about health. You want to talk about travel as it deals with a 45 plus, 50 plus, 55 plus person. You've got a great opportunity right now, because when that age group can't find what they want on radio, they're going to find your podcast. Getting in front of them in the right area, the right social media, the right content, distribution point, you're in front of the right people, the normal stuff that you do to promote your podcast. They are searching out alternative forms of entertainment because they're not finding it on radio. And I can pretty much guarantee you radio is not going in that direction. It's open game. You have the opportunity to really grow an audience fast, but you got to start now as the wave of older adults are finding podcasts and getting hooked on them and knowing that radio has abandoned them in regards to entertainment form. Thanks for taking notes with me. I'd love to have you as a subscriber to my daily newsletter, Open the Mic newsletter. Go to circle270media.com and sign up. I cover social media, sales, podcast news, production, and on Fridays, spotlight what you should binge on over the weekend. Thanks for taking notes with me.